Hello, I am Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about Dark Athena, surprise, surprise, in Arena 3 from both a solo and a co-op point of view in terms of the strategies and the teams you should try and build and use. So, it comes as no big surprise that Dark Athena is the newest craze to sweep through North America and Europe because she has somewhat unrivaled speed and efficiency in terms of clearing endgame content. For the purposes of this article, I will be mostly focusing on Arena 3 setups because that is what she's primarily designed to tackle most efficiently. So I'll be making suggestions in terms of inheritance, latents, as well as what subs to bring, as well as the overall strategy you should use when approaching challenging floors. If you do wish to read about my comprehensive Dark Athena guide, you should please refer to this link here because that will take you to the full team building guide, which is going to presume you have some of the knowledge for this video. So, in terms of Arena 3, it has been somewhat power creeped because we are basically gaining new leaders, new toys, new actives that are just so much stronger than what we had available 9 months ago when Arena 3 was first released. So, with Dark Athena, many players are actually starting to gain their first taste of those Radar Dragon spawns, as well as grinding through those 25 floors. And even though Arena 3 has randomized spawns that are drawn from a specific pool across its 25 floors, you can somewhat plan ahead because you do, to a certain extent, know what can spawn. And in all honesty, most of the encounters are actually not dangerous to Dark Athena. She's just so innately powerful, and she basically has a well-designed kit that can basically handle almost all the spawns, even without any active skill usage. Naturally, you will need some actives on some floors, and that's why the certain sub as well as inheritance setup makes sense, which I will explain in a moment. Now, naturally, not everyone will have the exact same team setups I will be outlining down below. So the amount of killer awakenings you have, or killer latents I should say, orb enhances, and the sub compositions will vary across player to player. So you must go into Endless Quarters and practice and test your damage output because I can't know exactly how much you're going to put out because our teams will differ. So in solo mode does allow you to use a badge of your choice, but it does restrict you to a smaller health pool. You have 4 less actives, and you do, to a certain extent, have a somewhat more rigid team building composition because there's less wiggle room for error. Now, despite the fact that there are ideal or optimal teams, you do at least have some room for creativity because while these cards are obviously more ideal, they do have some replacements. And like I said, if you do go through my Dark Athena team building guide, you can find other alternatives that will at least help provide inspiration for what you can use in lieu of missing some of these subs and inherits. But the optimal team essentially just means it's more efficient in farming Arena 3. It requires just less effort overall because you have so many TPAs, you have 7 combo awakenings that even with minimal matching, you might just sweep most floors, and you have inherits to tackle all the dangerous encounters. And what I want to stress is that the number of dragon killers you have can vary, but you want to keep them the same across all of your Hakus, because if one Haku has 2 and the rest have 0, she's going to be hitting for far too much damage, and damage control is thrown out the window. Like, it's just a bad scenario. You're better off having 1 across each Haku and then building up to 2 at some point later on in the future. Furthermore, if you do use the latent extenders to have a 6th slot, it is an expensive investment and it's not really mandatory. You can have enough wood resist to survive. And the wood resists that are pictured in this team allow you to survive Gaia Dragon without using the health badge. That means you can use the time extend badge, which just makes things so much easier because the health badge doesn't really save you from any other thresholds. You'll have maybe several thousand more health, but it's not going to help you survive anything that would have executed you anyways. So that's what I feel running the time extend bench is more beneficial because you have a more gentle time playing as well as having the opportunity to basically take your time. So this setup requires exactly 6 wood resist latents for the amount of health the team has in order to survive Gaia Dragon. You will have to determine what is required for you, and if it is not feasible for you to actually achieve the health threshold for Gaia Dragon, you should basically be running the health badge, and the threshold you need to achieve is 64,294 damage. The physical killers are used to basically deal with Ill-6 with ease, because Ill-6 does create a board of water, hearts, and locked jammers. And when that occurs, you want to try and not use active skills if possible. So what you do is you actually just TPA him down with water, just so Dark Athenas can basically kill him without actually relying on Dark Orbs to trigger full multiplier. The physical killers will help ensure that Ill-6 actually dies. Obviously, bad things can happen. Like one time I actually only got 5 water orbs, so that obviously didn't work, so I had to use active skills. But for the most part, you should not actually need to use active skills against Ill-6. Again, this is just to min-max your performance and have the highest level of consistency possible. So, what am I using? Surprisingly, I actually do have pretty close to the ideal or optimal team. Basically, all I've done was taken out Indra for Susanoo, and I have Carrot instead of Facette. There are downgrades for the most part, especially the Susanoo aspect, but I can get over it. Like, it's still more than potent, more than strong enough overall. And I do have enough wood resist. I had some dark resist from earlier on, but in all honesty, this works for me, and you should be using what works for you. In co-op mode, basically, co-op mode is significantly easier because it allows you to bring 4 additional active skills along with having a significantly higher health pool. So now the setup and strategy changes because you now no longer have to worry about Gaia Dragon's health threshold, and instead you want to shift your focus to surviving Hera Dragon, especially if you don't bring Fujin. Because in co-op, you do have more flexibility in terms of the subs you can bring because you don't actually need to have 1 card of double SBR coverage, because across 6 subs you should have at least 5 SBRs is my presumption. And the overarching need to bring Fujin is also lowered because you do have a higher health pool. And because of this, you don't want to actually stack wood resist if you're planning to only play in co-op. You want to actually stack dark resist to achieve enough health or damage mitigation to survive 107,750 damage attack, because that's the second hit Hera Dragon does. And with the setup that I'm going to outline down here, you only bring 1 shield. And basically Hera Dragon is on a cycle. Turn 1 heals, then hits. Turn 3 heals, and then hits for 107. If you can survive that, you don't have to use your shield. So then you'd actually have a very large window of opportunity to actually kill Hera Dragon, because Indra will protect you for 2 more turns, or actually 2 more turn cycles, so that is basically 4 more turns, and then you have 2 more before she actually kills you. So in total, you have a very large amount of time to kill Hera Dragon, so you don't need to bring Fujin. Fujin obviously makes things easier though. So what subs should you bring, or what subs should we bring? Now, because this SBR coverage is no longer an issue, you don't need to run Loki, because you can always find, if you're able to find an alternative to Loki that hits just as hard, just aim for double TPA at least, you should be fine for the most part. But one thing I do want to mention is that Loki does actually have naturally high health, and that does help at least achieve the threshold required to deal with Hera Dragon and that crucial value that I listed before. Naturally, Hakus are still going to be desirable, but reincarnated gods with TPAs tend to be just as efficient overall for the most part, because you do have more actives, you can be more liberal in your active skill usage. So, in terms of inheritance setup, you do have 4 additional active skills, which means you also have 4 additional slots for inheritance. And in co-op, your leaders charge up twice as fast than your subs, so you actually want to reshuffle things around slightly. In this team here, I put Fujin on Dark Athena because we don't really need 2 Dark Athenas. But when you're playing in co-op, you want to have something more impactful on Dark Athena. You don't want to put Fujin there. You still want to delay because you need that delay throughout. But now you want to put something else on Dark Athena that is more sneezing, universally accessible and helpful overall. So in this setup here, if I could imagine having like every card in the game across my 2 accounts and building whatever I want, this is the team I would try and build, because I now put a Ryune on Dark Athena, because Ryune will allow me to actually have a board changer that allows me to heal and deal damage, and on my leader, I have access to it twice as often. I still run Ryunes as my board changers because Ryune is simply just the best. I do put a Pandora because I want to have something different than a full board changer. Pandora allows me to condense my board to 4 elements. Provided I had water already, I will have enough Dark Orbs with the additional ones generated to basically kill anything, but I also can heal. It's different than Ryune, but I feel that having a bit of variety is useful. I bring in Eshimali because Eshimali overrides Skyfall debuffs, as well as basically providing more than enough Dark Orbs to kill everything, and the Skyfalls ensure the next 4 floors have sufficient Dark Orbs present. Facet is obviously a desirable choice because it's the best gemstone burst possible. I use Lumiel still for true damage. I use an Indra for insurance and safety. I have Fujin just to make life easier. Another Eshimali. You could always replace it with another Ryune. Like, it's hard to say, do you need double Eshimali, yes or no? Now, this team will require a few Dark Resist lanes to hit that health threshold. And again, depending on your setup and who you're playing with, just adjust accordingly. You can always just bring more Dark Resist if you play with a variety of players. And one thing to note is that this bottom team is actually the one that's designated to absorb the 15-turn skill delay from Hephaestus Dragon, because I've placed the less orb change heavy actives on team 2, because that means the Fujin, which was useless against Hippo Dragon, is obviously removed. We don't care about it. The Lumiel is a worse orb changer than Haku, so again, we didn't really need it. Indra, shield is not necessary against Hephaestus Dragon, as well as the Kali afterwards, so we didn't really need it. So then Persephone has that Shamali. Persephone is still great at base active skill. So the idea is to basically put the inherits that are less crucial against Hephaestus Dragon onto one side, most notably Fujin, in order to buffer yourself and have those base active skills ready. And then Team A, Team 1, whatever you want to call it, has the more orb change heavy actives in order to have a steady flow of water and dark orbs. So what am I actually using? Because again, I don't obviously have perfect teams and perfect cards to draw from. So basically, I have very similar to the first team. I've swapped Carrot for Facet. I have a Famiel instead of Lumiel because unfortunately that's just the way my life works. I do use a Claire instead of a third Haku, but one thing to note about Claire is that Claire actually has 5% damage reduction from Dark, and that passive Dark damage reduction will help in aiding against Hera Dragon. I still have the shield, I still have the Shimali, and I still have the Ryune. So I'm pretty close overall. And I don't run Fujin, but in all honesty, I don't actually need to run Fujin because I do have the ability to tank out those first 2 hits. I have basically 10 turns in total to kill Hera Dragon, so I really shouldn't fear much. And I have more than enough damage burst output to basically tackle any radar dragon. And it's just a matter of understanding how each of them work to ensure the most consistent victory possible. And one thing to note about Claire is that she does have 7 combo awakenings as well as double TPA, so she's a pretty good alternative to Haku overall. So, while Arena 3 does have 25 floors and well over 100 different spawns possible, not all of them are actually dangerous and relevant for Dark Athena, and I want to only just focus on what is hazardous and what you need to actually keep an eye out for. Obviously, if things start going south, you do have a delay as your basically emergency panic button. That's one thing you need to get used to. Dark Athena's base active is very useful for dealing with non-radar, non-Kali floors because you can delay almost everything else in the entire dungeon. So if things are going badly or you need to stall for a little bit or just heal up, use the delay. Why not? It charges up fast in co-op mode and obviously charges just as fast in solo mode. So use that delay liberally when needed. So I'm just going to highlight what I feel are the more troublesome spawns in Arena 3. So the first one is the Tans on floor 3. They have 3.5 million defense. You need to hit 2 dark combos with 1 TPA and at least 7 combos total. Not always feasible to do, just delay if things go badly. The Killer Leighton on floor 8, they have 5 million defense, but that's halved to 2.5 because it's light versus dark. Now, you need to hit at least a single dark TPA with 7 combos total to pierce through. You are also able to tank 2 consecutive hits in solo mode, but again, if things go bad, just delay. This is going to be the default answer for most things. Sha Wujing, just delay him or use your shield. If you delay the Killer Latent, you probably need to use the shield on Sha Wujing. Just don't chance it. He has almost no health and you'll probably do too much damage for the most part. Pre-draws on floor 13. Basically, you just need to have your true damage ready in time. And if you're playing in co-op mode, make sure the opposite side, in this case here, side A, kills the floor before, so side B can instantly kill the pre-draws so you don't take extra damage. Zeus and Hera on floor 14. I find them a little troublesome and annoying, mostly because of how Dark Athena's recovery component works. Yes, you can blow them up, make them recover to 50% health plus 1, but in order to recover the health that's needed to survive the next hit, you have to match damage. So it's not always the most feasible thing, so what you can do is simply just wait for 2 turns and then delay. Delay is the default choice, and remember, stall on the Celestial if your delay was not ready. Once you delay them after those 2 turns of waiting, they're a piece of cake. Sopdet on floor 16. When she is light, you can do a maximum of 3 combos total, with only one of them being dark. You cannot match water dark, of course. And this is assuming 6 total orb enhances. And I always aim for 2 combos in this case because I want to play it safe. I don't want to take a chance, and that way I have 1 room for a Skyfall from RNGesus to keep my damage at an appropriate level. Once she turns dark, you can make a few more combos, and if you don't have dark orbs, match water and fire TPA, but never hit 7 combos, of course. Hino on floor 18, just delay him. Don't dance. If you have Dragon Killers, it's not going to be a good time. It's just a bad thing overall. Just delay. Parvati, which is also on floor 18, you basically need to match... You cannot match your Dark and Water at the same time because you do too much damage. And basically, you should just rely on Dark combos to chunk her down. And just be aware that she is for 36,722 when under 30% health. Just keep your health above that. But for the most part, she's not lethal, just tedious. Mei Mei is also on floor 18, and if you enter her floor with an unactivatable board, take the hit, and then wait for her to spawn numerous Dark Orbs, and then from there, just match Dark TPAs and combo as hard as possible. With those physical killers, you will be able to pierce through her defense and save yourself an active skill. Vishnu on floor 20, and Vishnu is a horrible thing in general, but Vishnu can be delayed. So what I like to do is I like to chunk him down as much as possible, and then delay when I would have died otherwise. By doing that, you actually make it so you have obviously the delay number of turns to kill him, but if he's already been chunked down, say, to 60% health, you have a smaller hill to climb. Like, it's a less uphill battle at that point. If worse comes to worse and you do have a Fujin, you can just Fujin him and you actually just kill him right away. But one thing you need to do to keep in mind is that to keep your damage below 1 million, and you should always avoid dark TPAs here, as well as the 7 combo awakening can be lethal, so try not to combo too hard. Ill 6 on floor 21, and basically based on the number of dragon killers you have to vary your damage accordingly, but always try and keep your health above 45,518. If you're above that health threshold, don't bother healing. Save those heal orbs for later, because you want to actually be able to heal up after, say, he does a gravity or the big 45,000 hit. When he does his enrage with the locked jammers, water, and hard orbs, you want to try and TPA him down with water if you have physical killers. If insufficient water orbs are present, you'll have to use some sort of active skill to overcome this problem. Now, obviously, sometimes if you don't have physical killers, you want to use, obviously, your damage mitigation or a Ryune style board. And just be aware that there is going to be a preemptive for 46,000 on the next floor if you get DQ Hera, which is a 1 in 3 chance. Now we come to the Radar Dragons on floor 23. And all the Radar Dragons do have Dragon typing, and if you do have Dragon Killer Awakenings, you have to vary your damage accordingly. Again, test yourself in endless corridors. Now, the rationale and hints I'm going to provide for the Radar Dragons may seem like they're very simplified, but in all honesty, Dark Athena makes life quite simple. Against Hephaestus Dragon, he has been the bane against most solo teams because he does delay your skills by 15 turns. And that's a problem, but Dark Athena has naturally high damage, you do have Dragon Killers on your side, and you do have high health, so you can tank out several hits before you actually die. And when you are playing in solo mode, you can tank 5 hits in a row. Basically, you can tank the 61,000 hit without the health badge, and you can tank 6 if you do use the health badge. And if you mirror the ideal setup in solo mode, you basically have Haku's ready within a couple of turns. You have Loki ready as well, who provides haste and damage augmentation. And the goal against Hephaestus Dragon is to simply bring him below 50% as fast as possible. Once that's done, pop your Loki to get the haste, and also cycle up your Hakus, and also this will ensure you kill Hephaestus Dragon in time, and then match hard. And then on the Kali floor, you have your Haku to pop, and you have the Loki's burst carrying over from the floor because it lasts for 2 turns, and then you just combo hard, and you can usually one-shot Kali anyways. If you're playing in co-op mode, life becomes very simple because you have all these actives ready, and you really shouldn't stress out too much. But again, the goal is push it below 50%, and then kill them off. Noah Dragon is probably my least favorite encounter of all time, but the easiest method for clearing them is simply wait out the 99 turns of damage void and then wait for a favorable absorb and one shot. If you're impatient, what you should do is basically try and wait for a desirable color absorb and then try and hit them as hard as you can while staying under 5 million. Ideally, you chunk them down to about half health. They will do their first judgment, which you can survive, and then you will Pop your burst active, use a board changer if necessary, or orb changer if necessary, and combo hard. Make sure you stay under 20 million, of course, but then you basically one-shot Noah Dragon, and then you're on to the Kali floor. That's obviously a very simplified version. It takes practice to know your damage control and how much you can hit with your burst overall. But if you are having to stall and dance it out, you should only heal when they're doing a Dark Absorb, because you have to heal when you match Dark and Water. So you want to make sure you're not actually chunking Noah Dragon down and triggering a Judgment when you're not wanting to or not prepared. Gaia Dragon, basically provided you have enough health or would resist to tank that 68,255 hit, this should be relative cakewalk. With those Dragon Killers, with the burst, with the high amount of damage you can deal, make sure you hit under 24 million, because you have 6 turns to deal damage when they have the shield, and then 1 turn afterwards. But basically you have 7 turns to kill them, and I really don't feel that should be an issue just because Dark Athena hits so hard. Zeus Dragon is also very straightforward, and I don't recommend going for a one-shot because it has 78 million health. It's hard to hit 78 million damage without going over 20 million per card. So what I like to do is chunk them down to close to 50%, aim for about 60-65%, let them change elements, use your burst, damage accordingly under 20 million, and it's finished. That way, when they're, say, at 2/3 health, they've basically lost 25 plus million, so it's a lot easier to hit 50 million, basically 10 million per card, or basically 8-9 million per card. It's a lot easier to hit, and you have much more wiggle room for error. Again, Zeus Dragon should be relatively straightforward. Now, if you're fighting Hera Dragon, if you have Fujin, it's a free win. But what you should do is let Hera Dragon at least heal you up to full health before you one-shot them. That will give you a chance to at least set up your board, and if you're playing in co-op mode, take all the time you need if you have enough health to survive the second hit. Again, the idea is to cycle your actors up in time, as well as healing up to full health. If you're not using Fujin, you should be playing co-op ideally, because in theory, when you are playing solo mode, you can always pick a Fujin friend. There should be no excuse for that. So you do have Fujin all the time in solo mode, and the only time you wouldn't have Fujin is in co-op. And if you're in co-op, make sure you have over 107,750 health or enough resist to tank that second hit she does. That way, when you pop your Indra or your damage mitigation, you have more than enough time to survive, or more than enough time to actually finish them off, because you have basically 10 turns to kill them. The Kali's on floor 24. Basically, you need to hit just over 26 million damage to avoid the execution of 150,000 damage. If you have an Indra and you're full health, you can tank this hit and then just sweep them when their 50% damage reduction shield goes away. It's relatively straightforward. Just make sure you don't get executed unexpectedly. So, in conclusion, Dark Athena is pretty much the new in thing to farm Arena 3 because she has innate tankiness, amazing damage output, easy to activate, and just consistent overall. And while the showcase teams are a lot more streamlined and more min-maxed for Arena 3 farming, you do have wiggle room, especially in co-op mode, because you can bring different cards, and as long as you are able to either combo hard enough and hit the appropriate amounts of damage, you should be fine. With the ideal or optimal teams, the idea is you can be lazier. You just do more damage of less effort. That's basically the idea of having a Facet versus Carrot versus Muse. Basically, Facet allows you to do less combos and be lazier, whereas Muse requires you to combo harder. But as long as you understand your damage output, you should be fine. So let me know what you are using to tackle Arena 3 with your Dark Athena. Are you playing solo, co-op, and what kind of setup are you following? Let me know what you're using in the comments below. Hopefully you all have a mantastic day, enjoying the new HD voice with the microphone, and happy puzzling.